Good evening, everyone. Today is July 22nd, and the public safety meeting is now called to order. We begin to acknowledge that the land on which we gather, and that is currently known as the City of West Hollywood, is the occupied, unceded, seized territory of the Gabrielino Tongva and the Gabrielino Kizh people. And now for our Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Harrison, will you please lead us? If everyone will rise and place their right hand over their heart.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Secretary, may I please get a roll call?
Commissioner Blau?
Aye.
Commissioner Ramian?
Aye.
Commissioner Freiberg?
Here.
Commissioner Harrison?
Here.
Commissioner Nickel?
Here.
Commissioner Post?
Here.
Chair Hallman?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Item 4, the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda for July 22nd, 2024, Commissioners?
No, Chair.
May I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve the agenda.
And can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Secretary, may I please get a roll call?
Commissioner Blau?
Aye.
Commissioner Ramian?
Aye.
Commissioner Freiberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Nickel?
Aye.
Commissioner Post?
Aye.
Chair Hallman?
Aye.
The agenda is approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Secretary. Item 5 on the agenda is the approval of our minutes. Are there any changes from the minutes from our June 22nd, 2024 meeting? Commissioners?
No, Chair.
Can I get a motion to approve?
A motion to approve?
And can I get a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Secretary, can I please get a roll call?
Commissioner Blau?
Aye.
Commissioner Ramian?
Aye.
Commissioner Freiberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Nickel?
Aye.
Commissioner Post?
Aye.
Chair Hallman?
Aye.
The minutes are approved.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Secretary. Item 6 on our agenda, public comments. Commissioner Secretary, do we have any public comments in chambers this evening?
Yes, we have 7 public comments, starting with Yola Dore. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, honored guests, and staff. Yola Dore, 30-year-plus resident of West Hollywood. I'm coming to you tonight not only as a Disabilities Advisory Board member, but also as an individual. Highly unusual to speak this way. First, I want to mention to you several good things. Number 1, I hope during the year you can commend 2 of the public safety individuals that volunteer their time and/or that work for Block by Block that do an exemplary job. The volunteer at the Sheriff's Department is Michael King, and the young lady that works for Block by Block, I hate to tell you, I don't know her name. She works at Plummer Park. She's always there. She's not only a concerned person, she's excellent. Now, with that good, I'd like to go on to remind you, we have our Disability Service Awards coming up in October, but the nominations are open now. I'd like you, as commissioners, to consider participating. You may nominate someone that's been a grand advocate or a business that's created accessibility for persons with disabilities in our city and has done an exemplary job. There are 4 categories. The first is individual, the second is nonprofit, the third is business, and the fourth is your media. The last thing I'd like to mention is There were incidents in my neighborhood this weekend. On Sunday, there was a horrific incident, a shooting. It was a few paces from where I live. I couldn't get home. As you can tell, I don't look like a teenager. I walk with a rollator walker. I had groceries with me and was in need of taking my cancer medication. But yet the officer on duty seemed reticent to give me someone to walk home, even after I was told that they had caught the persons. So it was Michael King that ended up escorting me. Even though I'm sure everyone was rattled in lieu of the circumstance, I hope you'll look into that and make the public as aware as you are about the dangers. Thank you.
Thank you, Yola. Next, we have Mikey Friedman. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Mikey Friedman, West Hollywood. First, I want to thank Todd Hallman for his great job as chair and for stepping up and doing it for 2 years. He was calm and even-handed. He thought I was excoriating him at one time, but I wasn't. It was a misunderstanding. All I was doing was being an English teacher, trying to make him look as good as he possibly could. But Todd, you don't need my help. You were already styling. I'm here tonight because I always worry about the safety of pedestrians, particularly those living with disabilities and older adults. Our mayor says that he feels safe and that we are safe, and those who say we're not are fearmongers and liars. But if we don't feel safe, just saying that we are is not going to make us feel any safer. Also, the mayor was quoted in the Beverly Press saying that pedestrians will not be safe on our sidewalks until the infrastructure is improved and we don't have to share our sidewalks. So I am asking that we suspend the scooter and robot programs until our infrastructure has been improved. Safety should be our #1 priority. After all, getting out and walking is one of the most climate-friendly, cheapest, and easiest ways you can get exercise. But who wants to take a walk if they feel like they'll be in danger from devices and armed robbers? Why does it have to be so hard to take a simple walk when walking is so important that about 200 songs have been written with walk or walking in them? Here's just a few. I'll sing them for you. Walk like a man, I'm walking, yes indeed. I go out walking after midnight. These boots are made for walking because you're mine. I walk the line and I'm walking to New Orleans. And the most important, walk a mile in my shoes. I have 13 more ready. Shall I go on? No, I didn't think so. But they will be available upon request. So you see, walking is so important to the American experience that if you don't do everything you can to make it safe for people to walk, you're not a good American. Also, I don't know if any of you know Andy Sacker. He was in San Francisco on Father's Day weekend, and he tripped over an abandoned scooter and broke his wrist. Bummer. Oh, and I will feel a lot safer, at least from the armed robbers, when the drones and the cameras are operational. We need them, as proven by the crime report and this past weekend's event, so please get them up ASAP. Okay, I'm done. Walking back to my seat shouldn't be dangerous. There aren't any scooters, robots, or bad guys blocking my way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikey. Next, we have Ben Gaster. Ben, if you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, commissioners and West Hollywood City audience members. This is my first time publicly speaking since graduating from university, so please bear with me. Thank you. My name is Benjamin Gaster, and I am a concerned citizen and community member of the city of West Hollywood. My concern dates back to other cities where someone had been scamming people at bars, restaurants, and defrauding the public and taking advantage of professional and personal relationships. While I cannot disclose the name of said person, I can disclose that he did egregious acts of fraud and misconduct. I have screenshots from this person, and it outlines what he did, how it happened, and the ultimate result and consequences for WeHo City and the public. Please see me after the public forum if you are interested in seeing what he has done. The safety and security is at stake here. We must be informed of this if we want there to be change in the WeHo scene. The quote-unquote bar scene is toxic here, and the acts of fraud and misconduct perpetuate the toxicity of the scene here in West Hollywood. I was called the Anna Delvey of WeHo in reference to the TV show Inventing Anna. He is blaming me for all of his fraud and misconduct. Please do not fall victim to this misconduct and stand with me by reaching out to me and stopping the behavior and harassment that happens in West Hollywood. Thank you. Sincerely me, Mr. Benjamin Gaster.
Thank you, Ben. Next, we have Annalee Gernert. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Commission members. Thank you for your time. My name is Annalee Gernert, and I have been a resident of West Hollywood for almost 10 years, 7 of which I've spent as a homeowner. I am here tonight on behalf of my neighbor, Sitare, another resident of my building who is unable to attend because of a work commitment that she could not move. On the evening of June 6th, she survived a violent kidnapping attempt in the courtyard of our building. I know that my time is limited to 3 minutes, so before I go into any details, I want to say that the reason I'm here is not just because I want justice for her, but because since this happened and we've started talking to our West Hollywood community about it, it has become clear that this was not an isolated incident and that what happened to her is becoming a common occurrence in our city. On June 6th, something was going on Sunset Plaza Drive. The city told residents that they needed to park elsewhere. Sitare parked a few blocks away, and as she was walking home, she noticed a blue Toyota Camry driving suspiciously slowly next to her. When she turned up our street, the car made a swift U-turn, and her intuition told her that something was wrong. I'm sure that every woman in this room knows that feeling. She ran for our front gate and got inside, but one of the men in the car was behind her and followed her in. He grabbed her, shoved her to the ground, and started beating her around the face. She screamed and fought back, but he was able to drag her to our gate. He let her go for a moment in order to open the door for his accomplice. They caught her, they pinned her down, and they started dragging her towards the gate. Fortunately, 2 of our neighbors heard her screaming and managed to scare the men off. The police and an ambulance came, and once they had taken their reports and determined that she was not seriously physically injured, she decided to wait to go to urgent care until the next morning due to exhaustion and emotional trauma. Although this incident was terrible in and of itself, what truly concerns me for our community occurred at urgent care the next morning. Sitare's half of my building is under the designation of the LAPD, and although I hope those officers and our sheriffs are in communication, our sheriffs aren't in charge of her case. However, when she went to Brentview Medical Urgent Care on Santa Monica and Harper on Friday morning, the doctor and the nurse who she saw told her that in the last few months, they have had 1 or 2 local West Hollywood women in every single morning with the exact same story as hers. They were attacked outside their homes at night, seemingly randomly, and however, were luckily able to escape. I read the sheriff's report that's being discussed in this meeting, and these attacks do not seem to be reflected. I don't know if that's due to lack of reporting or something else, but I wanted to come and speak up about this because it's clearly a huge issue that's getting worse. I love West Hollywood, I love this community, and I am very grateful for the work that all of our public officials and our sheriff's department do. I hope that by talking about this problem, we can start to find a solution that will help to make all of us more safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Annalee. Next, we have Steve Martin. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, commissioners and chair. Particularly styling tonight. It's really disturbing to hear what Annalee was saying, and I'm hoping the staff will talk to urgent care and reach out. And I appreciate Danny going over to talk to Ben. That's the kind of service we have come to expect from West Hollywood. But we really need to, the sheriff can't be everywhere, but you know, if we're organized and we've got people involved in Neighborhood Watch, people looking out for each other, people, in this particular case, residents who were willing to get involved, make the difference between the fact that this person, although she was assaulted, she fortunately wasn't kidnapped. But that was frankly almost by grace of God, but it was by the fact that people actually cared to get involved. And we really, with these sort of incidents, we really need to make sure that the public is aware. And even if they may be isolated, I think people who are walking our streets, particularly women, need to understand that, you know, maybe you walk with a friend, but we all need to be more careful. We all need to be more cognizant of our surroundings. As a person who both walks and drives, just from a pedestrian viewpoint, so many people that are walking their dogs, talking on the phone or working on their cell phone all at the same time. This multitasking has people walking out in the middle of the street, people not paying attention to any of their surroundings. And it's a real problem because there's real life consequences to people being this distracted and not being aware of their environment. Fortunately, the woman that was talking at least knew something was going to happen, but this could have happened to lots of other people who would have been completely surprised and might have been kidnapped. So, I mean, we've gone through a lot recently with stabbing, shootings, robberies, and then, you know, the tragic shooting this weekend, which I'm sure we'll hear some about, but I know we're going to hear more about as the investigation continues. But there's a lot of questions on why that person was shot. Not that anybody's throwing any accusations, but we do want to make sure that the highest level of professionalism was used in that incident. Anyway, appreciate all your time and your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next, we have Joshua Marin Mora from Assemblymember Rick Zabur's office.
Hello, hello. Good evening, Chair Hallman, esteemed members of the West Hollywood Public Safety Commission. My name is Joshua Marin Mora. I serve as the West Hollywood Field Representative for Assemblymember Rick Chavez Zabur. And I'm here tonight not just to introduce myself, but to also express our sincere appreciation for all of the work that you do for the city and for our district. I've been following the work of the commission. I know that it's not an easy job. I know that there are tough decisions that have to be made and disagreements to settle and can quite often be thankless, but as we all know, the work is critical. And public safety continues to be a top priority for Assemblymember Zabur, and he values the work that you've been doing. And if I may just say a few words about Chair Hallman. Todd, you have led this commission through very interesting and challenging times, but always with a measured, diplomatic, and graceful voice. And you have brought such valuable insight and perspectives as an East Side resident, but also as this city's first Black queer person to chair this commission. And the city has been better off for it. Assemblymember Zabur extends his heartfelt gratitude to you and to the rest of the commission for your thoughtfulness, your thoroughness, and your commitment to serving the people of West Hollywood. And please know that our office is here as a resource. And I also, if that's okay, wanted to give you a certificate to congratulate you for your tenure as chair of this commission.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
don't know what to say, and will you please thank Assemblymember Zabur? Usually when I see people get recognized, it's like toward the end before they go out to pasture, but I assure you, Director Rivas, I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me for a while. So thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. It's very kind of the Assemblymember. Commission Secretary.
Yes, we have one more speaker, Nick Roybal, if you want to go ahead and approach the podium.
Evening, commissioners. First, on Sunday, I was on the east side on Ogden when that incident occurred with Jenny, and I immediately reached out to Stephanie Harker and Kathy Blavis to make sure they were okay, and then I reached out to George and Alex to make sure they were okay. Yola, I will give you my cell phone number because I will gladly, anytime you want, walk with you in your groceries. I'm serious about that. And then Jenny and I walked the neighborhood, went to Astro Burger, had a strawberry milkshake, just to make sure community members who were out that I knew were okay. And everybody seemed, yes, unsettled, but at least grounded that those who were safe were safe. To Annalee, I commend you. I commend you. I think everybody in this city should be thanking you right now for coming forward and telling bravely and keenly what is happening. Third, at the council meeting on Monday, commissioners, 2 council members brought up, I claim, it was wrong, that the community had not been noticed or involved in discussions that you have been having. And that claim makes it appear that you guys aren't community members and I'm not a community member and anybody who's been attending these commission meetings aren't community members. And so my question to each of you is, given what Councilmember Shine and Vice Mayor Byers claimed at that council meeting, what are you all doing then? If community had no outreach input, then what were the conversations you guys were having? Are you not in the community? So, that was that. And then I guess I'll end with, if that's gonna keep being brought up at council meetings just because certain motions don't agree with ideologies of certain council members, what are we gonna do? It doesn't bridge the chasms, it just creates further divide. So those are all things we should be thinking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. And that is all for the public comment section.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Secretary. Do we have any comments in Zoom?
There are no Zoom comments.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Secretary. Item 7 on our agenda is unfinished business. It looks like we don't have anything. So item 8, new business, the moment of truth, what we've all been waiting for, the election of our next chair and vice chair. And we do have our city clerk, Melissa Crowder, here. Thank you for joining us, who will oversee the elections. I just would like to say, this has been an interesting journey for me. I didn't seek out to be on the Public Safety Commission. Then newly elected council member John Erickson asked me to apply. He appointed me. I never wanted to be chair. I just wanted to be the best commissioner that I could be. It's come around twice. The first time I abstained because I was terrified. I hadn't been a commissioner very long and I didn't feel that I was qualified enough to do the position. The second time when it did come up, I begrudgingly, said, all right. And so here we are 2 years later, and I had to serve for 2 terms because I'm on a commission where coincidentally everyone just abandoned ship at the same time. So it was a newly appointed commission. So by our bylaws, you have to be a commissioner for 6 months. So here I am. I hope I did a great job. The job, I believe, as chair is to keep this train on the track and to make sure our meetings move effectively. So I'm excited to go back into my role as a commissioner and still be an active member on this commission. I think this is an incredible commission we have seated here. I like everyone. I like when we have different opinions, when we disagree, because I think it's for the betterment of the city. And as we have all continued to ask, please continue to show up to our meetings, because we can't do our job if you're not here as residents. So with that being said, I would like to make a nomination for our next chair. We did sadly lose our vice chair.
Can I jump in ahead of
Of
you?
course you can
Please?
jump in.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. Melissa Crowder, City Clerk. Before we start with the nominations for Chair, I just want to go through a couple things in your bylaws. One is that the term of the Chair and the Vice Chair are for a year. Last year was an anomaly, and this Chair voted to handle things differently. The eligibility requirements Chair Hallman touched upon is that you have to be on this commission for 6 months prior to being appointed. So currently we only have one commissioner who is not eligible for nomination. And lastly, that I will be running the election tonight, as stated in your bylaws. And so I will open the floor up for nominations for chair.
Okay, great, and thank you. It's always great to see you.
Thank you.
So with that being said, I would like to make a nomination for our next chair, and I would like to nominate Commissioner Aramian. I think he would do an amazing job. He has worked in the city business for a substantial amount of time. I think he understands the city, especially our business district. So he is my nomination to be seated as our next chair. And I believe before we can move forward, we need a second, correct?
I will second that.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Oh, go ahead.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Harrison
Okay.
for chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seeing none.
Commissioner
No,
Post.
I believe we had a second on the.
Yeah,
Was
I'll
there?
second that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just need you to say it into the mic so we get it on the record. Okay, so now I will do a voice vote, and you will either state Commissioner Aramian or Commissioner Harrison. So I will begin. Commissioner Blau,
Commissioner Harrison.
Commissioner Nickel,
Commissioner Aramian.
Commissioner Aramian,
Commissioner Ramian.
Commissioner Freiberg,
Commissioner Aramian.
Commissioner Harrison,
Commissioner Ramian.
Commissioner Post,
Commissioner Harrison.
Chair Hallman.
Commissioner Aramian.
Your next chair for the Public Safety Commission is Commissioner Aramian. Congratulations. So now we will entertain nominations for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Harrison.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I will second that nomination.
I would like to nominate Joy Freeberg.
Okay. Do we have a
Commissioner Joy Freeberg.
second? Do we have a second?
We have a second because that's who I was going to nominate. Thank you
Okay.
for usurping me, our next chair.
Do we have any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, I will do a voice vote. Commissioner Blau,
Commissioner Harrison.
Commissioner Nickel,
Commissioner Harrison.
Commissioner Aramian,
Commissioner Freiberg.
Commissioner Freiberg,
Commissioner Freiberg.
Commissioner Harrison,
Commissioner Harrison.
Commissioner Post,
Commissioner Harrison.
Chair Hallman.
Commissioner Freiberg.
So Commissioner Harrison has 4 votes and Commissioner Freiberg has 3. So Commissioner Harrison, you are the new vice chair. Congratulations.
We're good? We're
Thank
not
you
going
for
to lose
having
you,
me.
are we?
No, I'll stay.
All right, thank you. Congratulations to our next chair. Commissioner Aramian, and our Vice Chair, Commissioner Harrison. I can assure everyone we are in great hands with both of these two individuals at the helm. Item 8C is our monthly reports from our fire department. Who do we have with us this evening? Good evening.
Okay, thanks for having me. Very exciting night. Congratulations to all of you, past and future. I think you all do a great job, so you're all winners in my book. So I'm just going to go through the fire activity report for June. We had 8 fires, 514 medical calls, 5 hazardous condition calls, 16 service calls, and 118 good intent calls. Of those 514 medical calls, 123 were ALS calls where our paramedics go with the patient to the hospital because it's a more serious condition, and 223 of those calls were sent to the hospital with the EMTs in the ambulance. Of those fires we had, 4 were rubbish fires. 1 was a cooking fire in an apartment that ended up with very little damage. 1 was a vehicle fire, and 2 were structure fires. The 1 structure fire was fairly minimal damage. It wasn't that big of a deal, but the other one was a fully involved abandoned structure that was too dangerous for us to get in and actually attack from the inside. We searched, made sure nobody was in there, and got out and attacked it from the outside in a defensive mode for our safety. And the incidents that were hazardous conditions, we had 2 gas leaks, 2 gasoline or flammable liquid spills, and 1 electrical wiring issue. And that is all of the fire report.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions at this time?
I have a question.
Commissioner Blau.
Thank you. You mentioned 2 structure fires. The report that I have has 1. What was the second one? I see the one that I have shows June 21st. Did you have a second structure fire, or is my...
Yeah, no, we did, and I wrote it in because I was on that, and I spoke with Chief Smith, and I think the way they compilate this, somehow that last day got left off, but yeah, that was June 28th, and it was a structure fire on Fountain.
Got it, okay, thank you.
Commissioners, anyone else with questions? Yeah. Commissioner Nickel.
Thank you, Chair Holloman. So actually, thank you for your report. I had a question about the fire on the 28th, which is at the northwest corner of Fountain and Fairfax.
Yes.
And I know that you've been called out there many times. In May of last year, I was on a ride along with Station 7, and they were called out, and they were exasperated because it had happened and happened and happened. And we had brought this up. We've discussed that here. It's an abandoned building. Do we know the cause of the fire?
Because it was suspicious from what we saw, so we turned it over to the Sheriff's Arson Investigation Unit. And I don't know where they've taken it from there, but yeah.
And it continues to remain a problem, but I understand, Director Rivas, that we have done more to secure the building. Block by block is there, yes?
Correct. So the building has been secured. There is block by block security ambassador staff there 7 days a week, around the clock, and code enforcement staff, along with other interdepartmental departments like building and safety, et cetera, are working together right now to assess each of the structures, and then we'll be proceeding with action with the property owner.
Well, as I said about the fire Thanksgiving across from your house last year, I certainly hope that the city is billing for what we're paying for block by block to secure that building to the owner. Thank you.
Commissioners, anyone else?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramian?
Thank you, Chair Holman. Good evening, Captain, and thank you for your report. I just have two questions. One, does the fire department in West Hollywood go around to all the vacant properties and survey the brush that has been unattended for some of these most vacant properties? Most specifically, I know the vacant property on Sierra Bonita. I know Mayor Erickson sent a crew out there last week, and they did a good job of cleaning that brush. And I know there are several other vacant properties. I know in my morning walks, there was a vacant property on the corner of Gardner and Romaine. I saw city crews cleaning the weeds and doing all of that. But those are just two vacant properties in the city. My concern is, you know, as it was on the vacant property in Sierra Bonita, fire. With all the high brush and the weeds, it's very dry. Does the fire department go around and survey these vacant properties and recommend to the city something should be done?
We look at the vacant properties kind of as situational awareness type thing. So like the last one on Fountain, we were well aware of it. We pre-plan it for ourselves. We might even drill there sometimes and practice. But as far as you know, from a code enforcement standpoint or something like that, we don't get into that, but we definitely know where they're at, and we'll patrol them sometimes on the way back, you know, and from calls or whatever, the guys just keep an eye on those places.
Got it. So Director Rivas, is that something that Business Development and Safety does? Does code, you know, do they go around looking at those vacant properties? Like I said, the one on Sierra Bonita where the resident next door to that vacant property reached out to Mayor Erickson, and within 24 hours there was a crew out there cleaning and mowing and cleaning all the brush. Is that something that the Business Department and Safety does, go around and observe these vacant properties, see if there's large brushes and stuff like that to prevent any possible fires?
Yes, and you're referring to the Neighborhood and Business Safety Division,
yes,
our Code Enforcement Division. So yes, to answer your question, and I'm familiar with a resident had reached out, and Code Enforcement staff didn't get in touch with the property's representative, and they did weed abatement on the vacant lot there. But to answer your question, yes.
Awesome, that's good to hear. I'm glad that that is being done, because, you know, the last thing we need is a fire starting and those dry brushes over there and many of those vacant properties in West Hollywood. So I do appreciate that. Thank you. The other question I had for the fire chief is, I was watching the news a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about this drug, I have to read it, sorry. Hydroxycobalamin. It's administered when firefighters are doing smoke inhalation or stuff like that. Have you heard of that? Or maybe I'm not pronouncing it right. Hydroxycobalamin. If someone's been exposed to smoke exposure and stuff like that, they usually give it to the firefighters as, you know, an on-site treatment.
I have not heard of it.
Nothing like that? Apparently it was in the news a couple of weeks ago for smoke inhalation. That's what it is. When firefighters are entering buildings for smoke inhalation, it's a drug that is administered to them on site to prevent any immediate injuries. I was just curious to see if our Fire Station 7 or Fire Station 8 has that available for the firefighters in the unforsaken, you know, reason of you know, if it is needed.
Yeah, it does happen. I hope that if that's something that works, we will find it sooner or later. I haven't heard anything about it though, but yeah, anything like that would be great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, any additional questions? Yes.
Just one quick follow-up. Danny, to confirm, hello, by the way, thank you being here. Thanks for the report. You recoup costs from homeowners, correct? When you find these situations, if there's incidents on the property where we're deploying resources block by block, whatever it may be, is the goal to levy subsequent fines on those homeowners like we did in the past? And I just want to clarify, because I think that's what happens, but I want it to be clear to everyone here that there is an attempt to get those monies back that we're spending.
There is, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Commissioners, any additional questions before we move to public questions? Commissioner Secretary, do we have any public comments in chambers?
Yes, we have 2 speakers. First is Steve Martin. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Heir apparent of Raven. I believe that hydrocarbon was before the smoking ban. I think you could get that at Studio One or any of the bars along Santa Monica Boulevard back in the 80s. Matter of fact, you could get a lot of things back then that are not available now. Back to the issue of the vacant buildings, I think maybe the question is, what is the mechanism for alerting the fire department what buildings are in fact vacant? Because it's not clear to me that there's a lot of communication. If it's just sort of ad hoc that the fire department's notified, we really need to be taking, and we're all partners in this because I've been talking to members of City Council on this. There seems to be sort of these approaching this in a really ad hoc, by the seat of our pants way, reactive way, whereas all of us who've been neighborhood watch leaders, all of us who've been in the community know this is a problem that's been around for 25 years. The city's slowly starting to adjust to the realities of the dangers of having abandoned buildings. And I would hope that maybe you could convince the council that maybe this commission and the planning commission, both public safety and land use issues, could come together, have real conversations, talk to neighborhood leaders, talk to neighborhood watch leaders, hold public hearings, and move things forward. Because I mean, when we had that abandoned building up on Sweetser, I talked to City Council, and fortunately John Hyman picked up a lot of my ideas. There were things that the city did against that property owner that they had never done before, and it was only because pressure was brought to bear, and they were made to absorb almost all the cost of security, securing the place, cleaning it up, and that's how it should be. But we really need to stop being reactive and start being proactive and start bringing the public into this process. And then my other concern is with Fountain, with the plans to reduce Fountain with 1 lane in either direction with protected bike lanes right up against the curb and then parking and then the street. I don't know that the fire department ever really weighed in on that, or if there was ever a real public discussion about the specifics of how emergency vehicles will be able to function on Fountain that's reduced to 1 lane in either direction. I mean, what happens when trash gets picked up? What happens when a left turn lane gets backed up, or when an Uber driver stops? I mean, it seems like it could be chaos and put a lot of seniors and in danger, or anybody who's relying on a quick response time from the sheriff or from a paramedic. You know, you could be putting our lives in danger. So I really hope that we could hear more from the fire department on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next, we have Nick Roybal. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Commissioner, so it has come to my attention that fire stations 7 and 8 do not have cameras on their facade.
No.
So that has come to my attention given the incidents of armed robbery that occurred in front of fire station number 7, in which those individuals were told there was no camera footage or cameras that could be accessed for those incidents. So I've been in touch with the mayor and the county about that, but are there cameras on fire stations 7 and 8?
No.
There are none, okay. So that's what I thought. So there are no cameras in front of our LA County fire stations 7 and 8 where we have had armed robbery incidents and assaults in the past 2 months, I believe 3. What are we gonna do about it? We have $31 million surplus in the city, can we install some cameras? I know it's a county thing. I mean, I'll invite Lindsay, we can get up on a ladder, you know, we can put up some cameras, but we need to do that now. Now. I said this at the last commission meeting, I read the minutes. What is it gonna take to put up cameras? Is somebody gonna have to die in front of one of our fire stations? And then Lindsay's gonna come to the meeting and say what she's gonna say, and I'm like, yeah, I've been talking about this. So, thank you.
Thank you, Nick, and that is all for the public comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Secretary. Item 8D, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department will now provide a report on the activities for the month of June. Good evening.
Good evening. Okay, for the month of June, we had 1,752 calls for service, 71 of these being for an emergency response. Deputies made 53 felony arrests and 80 misdemeanor arrests. West Hollywood Station Part 1 crimes for the month were at 198 incidents. When broken down by district, West accounted for 64% at 127, City Center 16% at 32, and East 20% at 39. Again, most of the Part 1 crimes are theft-related, grand theft, petty theft, and pickpocketing type of issues. We had 35 pickpocketing incidents in June occurring in the Rainbow District, mostly out of the businesses, the bars, and the clubs. Notes for June, in response to recent robberies, our EPT and COPS teams have been conducting robbery suppression operations, focusing their patrols on residential areas surrounding the Rainbow District. On June 26th, EPT deputies assisted narcotics detectives in an operation here in the city of West Hollywood. As a result, a male was arrested in possession of 3 pounds of methamphetamine. It is believed that this person has been operating as a drug dealer in the city and in surrounding areas. For the month of June, our station volunteers donated 367 hours of service. On Pride Weekend alone, they donated 88 hours of service, and we'd like to thank them for their time and dedication to our station and the city. I'm going to just read the statement that was released for the shooting that happened on Saturday, July 20th. This statement was drafted by our Sheriff's Information Bureau. Sheriff's homicide investigators are conducting their investigation into the circumstances surrounding a deputy-involved shooting that occurred in the city of West Hollywood. On Saturday, July 20th, at approximately 5:30 p.m., West Hollywood Sheriff's deputies were flagged down by a citizen. Informants that regarding an attempted robbery that occurred at a 7-Eleven store located on the 7600 block of Santa Monica Boulevard. Deputies located the male adult suspect on the 1100 block of Gardner Street and attempted to detain him. The suspect produced a knife, at which time a deputy-involved shooting occurred. The suspect was struck by deputy gunfire and was transported to a local area hospital where he was pronounced deceased. No civilians, no deputy personnel were injured during the incident. A knife was recovered at the scene and the investigation is ongoing. I know that you have questions regarding it, so we're going to go ahead and open you up to questions.
Commissioners, questions for our Sheriff's Department? Commissioner Ramian?
Sure. Good evening. Thank you, Lieutenant, Sergeant. Good to see you both. Do we know how many calls the Met team received in the month of July? I know I asked this at our last commission meeting. I would just like to know if we could include that statistic in our monthly report, just so the commission could have a good idea of how many calls are being utilized for the Met team?
Yeah, so next month, we're looking to include that with the package that comes along with all of our reports. It should be on there. The Met team will be here today speaking to you, and they might be able to provide that information, they might not. But going forward for next month's report, it will be on there.
My other question, there was a stabbing on Santa Monica Boulevard on July 7th, I believe. That was by Bank of America, in between High Tops and the new smoke shop that opened up. Do we have any information on that stabbing? What led up to it? I heard that it initiated elsewhere or a local business. Just want to know if you could touch up on that stabbing that occurred by the Bank of America in between High Tops and the ATM machines.
Yeah, I don't have too much information regarding it. It sounds like it did occur somewhere else, and that person walked that location where we responded to. At the time of the report or at the time of the call, we weren't able to get too much information from the victim because I guess the victim was slightly intoxicated, or maybe more than slightly. So they weren't able to provide too much information, but I will follow up with our detectives to see where we are with that.
Thank you. And my last question, with all the crime that's been happening in West Hollywood, everything's been up, armed robbery, all other armed robberies up 300%, everything's going up. Has the West Hollywood Sheriff's Station increased patrols in West Hollywood, in the neighborhoods, East Side, City, Mid-City, and the East Side?
So we've continued to have our regular patrol deputies out there, and we've conducted weekly operations with our EPT and COPS team members. And we're using those deputies on those teams to do targeted type of patrols, whether it's for robbery suppression, burglary suppression, different weeks, different type of thing. It just depends on where the crime trends are kind of going. One of the weeks we had them assisting with retail theft, different things like that. So we do have additional patrols in the way of crime operations that are going on.
Great, thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioners, any additional questions?
Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Blau.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. I just have a quick question about the shooting. Now, it's in general quite shocking and scary, and so I'm very glad that the deputy is okay and that no one was otherwise injured. I have a question about equipment availability, and I've asked this before because I've heard that not all of the patrol vehicles, and I experienced this firsthand, have less than lethal devices. Are you able to share at this point if that was an option in this particular scenario? I know that using lethal force is the last thing that anyone wants to do. I'm just curious because I want to make sure that if we're low on equipment, we can ensure that equipment is made available through whatever resources are necessary.
So I can tell you that the deputies do have the less lethal. I know that the department just purchased tasers that are going to be assigned to each deputy.
Great.
And we're in the transition of training. As a matter of fact, it was as of today, we're going to be, foots on the ground with every deputy being issued a taser. That being said, as far as the less lethal, the deputies have access to less lethal.
Mm-hmm.
On that specific situation, less lethal was not an option because of the proximity. But they do have access to less lethal. So thank you for pushing and asking questions on equipment because, persistence, gets things done. And I know the deputies are going to be well equipped with the less lethal, at least individually on an individual basis.
Great, I'm glad to hear that. Are there any other equipment issues that we're having right now? If there are, please direct them to Director Rivas, and we would just want to make sure that all the equipment is necessary so that we don't have to take lethal force if there's other options that are available, and if it wasn't in the instance, then that's
always our goal. Great. But on this instant, it wasn't. That was not an option.
Understood. Thank you very much.
The lethal shooting situation of the arm was start with it being an armed robbery. Is this an incident where the drone would have been deployed first to assist officers?
Potentially, yes. It may not have, just because this was a flag down. So that means the deputies were driving by the location and somebody literally came out and stopped them to alert them of what was going on.
I understand.
But if we did have the drone at this time, it probably would have been dispatched out there pretty quickly, and it may have caught the whole thing, from a different perspective, being recorded.
So it could have been a great aid in a situation like this, which is great that we're moving forward with this program.
Yeah, the deputies have body cameras that were on during the incident, but every other perspective or every other angle, anything would help.
Sure. All right, thank you. Commissioners, anyone else? Oh, Commissioner Nickel.
Thank you, Chair Hallman. Thank you, Sergeant Duran, Lieutenant Lapkin, for your report. So I just want to, a lot of people are going to have questions about this. I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit more about the use of deadly force and then the discussion of less than lethal force. If I remember correctly from attending the Community Police Academy, when a suspect gets within 20 feet, is that correct, of a police officer with a weapon, there's not time to react, so they have to make a choice, yes?
Yeah, we have the 31, which is 21-foot rule, but now it's been upgraded to 31-foot rule, which is science-based, that a individual can travel 31 feet within 3 seconds. And based on science, it takes us minimum of 3 seconds to draw our weapon. So the individual in this specific incident was within less than the 31 feet. So that's what they call the 31-foot rule, 21-foot rule, where it takes us a second to react to threat, a second to think that what the threat is, and then to retrieve our holster. So we use science in order to help us with all of that.
And it sounds like a long time, but I did do the scenario, the test, and it's not a long time, and that was just a simulation. I did want to ask about the lady who spoke about the incident, Ms. Garnett. Do you have any information about that, the attempted kidnapping? Do you not have it because it happened in Los Angeles? There was a discussion about other reports happening in West Hollywood. Can you talk about that?
So we don't have any reports here in West Hollywood similar in nature. It sounds like it did happen in LA City's area, and they do share information with us. They send us weekly or sometimes even daily crime updates to us and our detectives to let us know what's going on in their areas. But no, we haven't had any similar type crime in the city of West Hollywood that was similar to that we have reported yet, no.
So what happened, as terrible as it was just across the border in Los Angeles. All right, I did want to ask about, is there any update that you can give without compromising the investigation about the armed robbery at Larrabee and Cynthia? I believe it was on June 10th.
Yeah, I spoke to the handling detective today. They are still very active with this case. Their hope is that arrests are coming very soon. I can't give you too much more information other than that, other than it's very actively being investigated and that they're anticipating arrest soon.
Good. That's good news. And then I also did just want to ask, it was in the news about an arrest, it was a reflector vest gang, and in Los Angeles, it happened in Los Angeles, but they said that they were also responsible for robberies here in West Hollywood. So can you talk about that at all?
There was one incident where it was our major crimes team worked in conjunction with other law enforcement agencies to, they did a multi-jurisdictional investigation, and they arrested individuals, and one of the individuals that they arrested was wanted for one of the crimes here in West Hollywood. And that was their MO. They used a reflective vest, but it was one of, I think, 20 incidents. One of them was here in West Hollywood, and the rest were out of our jurisdiction.
And were they mostly street robberies or were they home burglaries?
Home burglaries.
Well, that's good news because they continue to be up. So correct. I'm glad an arrest was made. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for all the work. I think one of the things that I think about public safety is our reentry side as well. It's not something that's often thought about, but is there data tracked on the number of arrests of whether they are WeHo residents, are they folks coming into the community, and whether that is something that kind of we track both to coordinate with other law enforcement officials, but is that a data point that you all track?
It could be something that we can extrapolate from the data, but it's not something that we keep track of. Like if we can look at robberies and unfortunately we always talk about that our systems are not very easy to look through. So most of the time it would have to be through manual, looking at the reports and figuring out where the suspects live, if they're local, if we identify them, there's a lot of follow-up at that, but that's not something that we initially track.
Appreciate it.
Commissioners, any additional questions? I do have one, and maybe this is a question for Director Rivas, or I'll start with sheriffs first. It seems to be seasonal where pickpocketing goes up, correct? Like during the summer months, do we see more activity in the summers, or?
Yeah, I would say that that's fairly accurate. Probably just when the area is busy, that's when the pickpocketers come out, because then that's when they know that there's availability of victims essentially.
And are we still looking at cell phone thefts? Is that still the #1 item that's being lifted from individuals?
Yes, cell phones is the #1 targeted item right now.
So, Director Rivas, it brings me to a question. Is there a public safety program that the city can put together with signage? Because we do have a lot of tourists that come into the city during the summer months, as well as individuals that come in the evening that don't reside in the city, where we can do some visible signage to alert people to be more cautious and reticent when it comes to pickpocketing.
Yeah, that's something that we definitely are going to be exploring, even with the implementation of the pilot program, as we're looking for ways, obviously, to notify folks when they're coming into the city, to be more aware, to your point, about certain activities that law enforcement is conducting. At the establishments themselves, we've communicated and have pushed that out as much as we can, and we'll continue to do that. We will be scheduling, not to take Lieutenant Lapkin and Sergeant Duran's thunder, but they will be coordinating in conjunction with ourselves, with the business community, another public safety meeting that we had similar to what we did last year, and that will be a major point of discussion. The problem always is because the visitors, right, folks that don't live here are coming into the city, visiting our nightlife establishments, and so it's trying to capture them right at the right moment to make them informed about just being more aware as well of their surroundings. But definitely something that we're going to be working with our communications department as well as our sheriff station on to try to see how we could better get the word out.
Great, thank you, Director Rivas. Commissioner Secretary, do we have any public comments in chambers?
Yes, we have 3. First one is Kevin Burton. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Kevin Burton, a resident of West Hollywood, and firstly, I'd like to congratulate Commissioners Aramian and Harrison for your election to Chair and Vice Chair, respectively. The community looks forward to your service over the next year, and especially to thank Chair Holman, who has distinguished himself for 2 years as chair of this commission, has led it through some tumultuous times, very ably so. So thank you for your service, and we look forward to your continued service on the commission, and also seeing you next month at National Night Out on the East Side. I'm sure we'll see you there again. I'd like to also thank the Sheriff's Department, Lieutenant Lapkin and Sergeant Duran, for an increase in the amount of data that they provide to the Commission and the community every month. A lot of information on DUIs that didn't used to be in those reports, as well as information, for example, on collisions involving e-bikes and e-scooters. But the increase in information that's now provided to the Commission and the community should not come at the expense of information that has been provided for over 10 years And over 10 years ago, the Bicycle Coalition, with which I'm involved, had approached the Commission and the Sheriff's Department to provide some details on collisions between vehicles and pedestrians, vehicles and bicyclists. And now e-bikes and scooters should be in that mix. And for 10 years, without much interruption, the community was informed about the date, the time, the location, and importantly, the assignment of fault, who was to blame according to the sheriff's deputies, and the vehicle code section that applied to the collision. That allows those of us in the community to base our comments on known facts about what happened. Are there intersections where this is happening a lot? Are there scenarios where one group is at fault more than another? And could be a pedestrian, could be a bicyclist, could be the vehicle driver who is at fault. And for the last couple of months, that information has not been provided in the reports to the Commission, and hopefully that's only a temporary situation. And if the Sheriff Department needs more resources in terms of secretarial support, I hope that the Commission and city staff can work with the City Council to provide those resources, because it was the Commission who initiated this practice over 10 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, we have Nick Roybal. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Lieutenant Lapkin and Sergeant Duran, but I believe in the semi-annual report at the last council meeting, there were the statistics about certain intersections and whatnot. It was in the semi-annual report. So the last 6 months, that data is in there on Monday. So I would send you to that, to look at that data, Kevin. I just wanted to uplift Sergeant Duran and Lieutenant Lapkin and Danny Rivas. You do a great job for the city. I also wanted to uplift our volunteers at our sheriff's station. I don't know if you commissioners know, but many of our volunteers put in, so many hours a week, and they're at the front desk. They are community faces to a lot of people that have gone through a lot of bad things, who are coming in, and it is the community that is leading our policing. And that's pretty incredible, and I don't think that message gets out there, that it is community members like Mike King, who helped Yola Dore when that incident occurred. And if you look at the photos, the people in the white shirts and the button downs, those are all community leaders not getting paid, volunteering at that shooting incident Saturday night. Volunteers from our community showing up, paying for their own uniforms too. So I want to uplift all of the community members in our city who spend time leading community policing under the direction of Sergeant Duran and Lieutenant Lapkin and everybody in our sheriff's station. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. And our final speaker is Steve Martin. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. And yes, August 6th, National Night Out. The East Side's going to be happening at the intersection of Gardner and Lexington. We're going to be having 80s music, a roller rink, and hopefully a big fire truck. So we hope to see all of you there. I know we're going to see our sheriff's deputies and our representatives of the fire department and staff. These are events to be happening all over the city. They're always really fun, or a great chance to meet your neighbor, and a great chance to figure out how we can all work together on issues that keep us all safe. I want to thank the members of the commission for asking questions about the tragic shooting and the way I felt the sheriff's department was very forthright about volunteering that the cameras were on. And, you know, we have striven since we were a creation of a city, to really raise the bar on the professionalism of the sheriff's department. And I have to say that we've reaped a lot of rewards. And none of us want to see any kind of shootings, if at all possible. But I think we can all acknowledge that for a deputy, their primary duty is to be able to go home at the end of a shift. And, you know, nobody's, you know, it's a dangerous job, and it's not getting any less dangerous. And we want to support our sheriff, and we want to hold him to high standards. And I know that sometimes seems a little schizophrenic, but that's our job, that's your job. And frankly, I think that without asking hard questions, you can't really do that. I do want to thank Todd again for his service for 2 years in a row. I think it was a great transition. For those of you, maybe in the TV audience who don't know, part of Todd's skill at being chair is he served a long time as our neighborhood watch leader, having to put up with the likes of Roxanne McBride and me, so he knows how to run a meeting. And professionally, he's in fashion. He knows how to deal with divas, so you guys are all in. Next, we'll get him on council. I don't know. But anyway, I appreciate the fact that you're all willing to work so hard. And I know we're all just here to make the community better. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. And that is all for the public comments.
Thank you, Commission Secretary. Item 8E on the block-by-block security ambassadors will now provide...
Chair, I'm so sorry. We actually have an additional presentation. It was an error by staff. Myself should have added it onto the agenda, but we have our mental evaluation team that's here that we would like to present information to members of the community as well as the commission. So if that's okay, they'd like to present now.
That is more than okay, and thank you for letting us know. Thank you. We look forward to hearing your report. Thank you for joining us.
First, I'd like to introduce Deputy Garcia and clinician Rivera. They're both at the station, and they're just going to give you a quick preview of what we do and what they do.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in and joining us this evening.
Good evening, commissioners and Chair Hallman. It's good to see you again, sir. My name is Deputy Ismael Garcia. I've been with the Sheriff's Department for approximately 22 years. I've been with the mental evaluation team for almost 3 years now and assigned to West Hollywood for about 1.5 years now. This is my partner, clinician Maria Rivera.
Hello, my name is Maria. Hello. Hello, my name is Maria Rivera. I have been with the county since 2016, and I have been serving as your Met clinician since June of 2021. Our role is to respond to emergency mental health calls whenever there is a 911 call to the West Hollywood Sheriff Station. My partner and I, we go out there and correspond with sheriff's deputies and make an evaluation to see if the individual meets criteria for a 5150 if they're adults or 5585 if they're minors. And the criteria that we're looking for is if they're a danger to themselves, a danger to others, or due to their mental health, untreated mental health diagnosis, are gravely disabled. If we're able to safety plan, we safety plan, or we transport the individual to an LPS facility if there's no pending emergent medical ailments. And we also provide linkage services to the family or individual. In addition
to evaluating for 5150 holds, we also respond to crisis. We're also trained crisis negotiators, so if there's ever an event where there's a barricaded suspect or a hostage situation or someone who's wanting to commit suicide, we are also trained to be able to try to prevent it from happening. For barricaded suspects, we try to negotiate and try to get them to surrender peacefully. Suicides, same thing. We try to convince them otherwise and get them the treatment that they need as well.
We also respond sometimes just if we hear a call coming out that maybe there's a disruption in the business. or maybe an individual that's unhoused that doesn't want to leave a business, we kind of just hover around and see if the individual would benefit from our services or if we can help or assist in any way. We work closely with some of the contracted teams that the city has provided to be able to have a better patient care and provide homeless outreach in the parks or in areas that we've noticed higher response and do referrals as necessary.
And also in regards to less than lethal weapons, I am equipped with less than lethal weapons in my vehicle, and they are for the deputies. When we assign ourselves to their calls, they are more than welcome to use our less than lethal weapons that are safely in our vehicle.
Commissioners, do we have any questions?
I have a quick question.
Yes, Commissioner Blau.
Thank you for joining us this evening. I know that the MET team itself, you're specially trained. Can you help me and the public understand what some of your special training entails that you're able to provide and help with us here in West Hollywood?
So before I came to the MET team, and before I'm kind of blessed and sent out on my own to work, they do put us through 1,000 hours of training dealing with crisis negotiations, assessments of the patients.
And in addition, I am a licensed clinical social worker. So a lot of the times, I have previously worked in clinics, and with the experience that I received from MET prior to coming, I'm able to maybe navigate a little bit closer of what mental health illness looks like untreated or substance abuse. So during the morning briefings, if there's ever a topic or maybe we dealt with a call, we're able to assist the deputies with how to maybe navigate that call a little bit better, or how we can move on forward from the future, and kind of just work everybody together to provide the best assistance or what might not be the best, and have that discussion. So I think it does help out that that I work with my partner and he has the background with law enforcement, and then myself with mental health, and he's been trained substantially as well in comparison to non-MET deputies.
Great. Thank you so much for your service to the city, and thank you for being part of this community as well. And thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you.
Commissioners. Commissioner Harrison.
Thank you for your service. I just wanted to confirm, and I think you acknowledged this, you work with our hired organizations like CARES Team and others, so that's part of the process, and really this is just another level of support for mental health in the city?
Yes, definitely. We definitely refer some of the individuals we come across with Healthcare in Action, because they assist with the medical component. That sometimes that might be the necessity where it's not emergent. And I know that the city has a great deal of services for our in-house community members, but at times it's difficult for them to navigate, or to get them to go to the drop-in hours at the library, or maybe they weren't aware of the dates for the UCLA clinic that comes on by. So having Healthcare in Action come to the call-in itself and just treating the individual and making that connection is great. And with Jewish Family Services, there's just a lot of different components that I really feel fortunate of working here with the different services that the city provides, because I think that it definitely assists the unhoused and community members with the linkage component.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Freiberg.
Good evening. It's so very nice to meet both of you. Just a quick question on what is your relationship with Block by Block? Because I know they deal with a lot of unhoused residents. So how does that work? What is your relationship with them?
When we go to Plummer Park or West Hollywood Park, we sometimes drop in and say, hey, are there any updates? Is there anybody that you'd like for us to check in on? So that's kind of what that looks like. And I know that a lot of the calls that sometimes we assist, they contact the Sheriff's Department. And then based on my partner scanning for the calls, we respond as well with them. So that's kind of the relationship of obtaining that information.
Okay, so they can always count on you kind of as a backup, would you say?
They wouldn't call us directly, so they'd call the station and then we'd respond. But if we're there, we'll just kind of touch base on how are things today or how are things this week.
Right, okay, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Post.
Yeah, so appreciate you being here and explaining a little bit more. I'm trying to just understand how, I guess, or what situations you all would get called into and kind of how that decision-making process is made. I imagine it's based off that initial information that you all get on that call, but and it could be yourself or the sheriff as well. If you want to just kind of explain a little bit how that determination of whether you get called in or not is made.
So normally the way it works is someone in the public will call 911 and they will dispatch deputies to the location. If the deputies, once they arrive there, determine that the person that they're dealing with is having a mental crisis, they will immediately notify us. They will either call me on my cell phone or call my partner on my cell phone, call dispatch. Dispatch will notify us, and we will respond to the call so that we can evaluate. We will evaluate the client. If we determine that they do meet criteria for a 5150 hold, then we will ask the deputies to detain them if they are not detained, and then we will transport them ourselves to an LPS facility or a hospital or even a mental health urgent care facility. We will stay there until they are admitted. Once they are admitted, then we will return back to the city and respond to the next call.
And it's just to confirm, it's just you two that are on the Met team for WeHo right now?
For West Hollywood,
Yeah.
we are the only Met team between the hours of 6 and 4 p.m. Tuesday through Friday. And then if we are not available, the county-wide Met team would be available to respond at the request of the deputies.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nickel.
Thank you, Chair Hallman. Thank you so much, Clinician Rivera and Deputy Garcia. It's good to see you again. That was my question. So you always work as a team, and you are the one Met team that we have in the city of West Hollywood.
That's correct.
But it's also unusual that we have a Met team because other cities do not have a dedicated Met team, correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. As my partner was saying a moment ago, when deputies or dispatch contacts the countywide Met, it's pending their availability. And then headquarters are out of El Monte. So the response time might be a little bit longer getting to West Hollywood from that area.
Deputy Garcia, you're a sworn deputy, right?
Yes, sir. I'm a sworn deputy.
Right, so you also do carry weapons,
Yes.
both lethal and non-lethal.
Yes, sir.
So this is one of the differences between the Met team and like the care team, which has come online, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you do work with our care team as well, yes?
We have worked with the care team in the past, where they've actually pulled up alongside of us and assisted us with clients as we were already speaking with them.
Right. And you're trained in de-escalation and also identifying mental health issues, but you, as a sworn deputy, also have the backup if, unfortunately, it's needed in the
Yes,
training.
sir.
Yes. Great. Thank you so much.
I'm trying to remember, how long have we had our Met team here in the city?
I unfortunately don't have that answer for you, but I know that I have to look at the contract and when when the city was able to, because we are the first city to actually have our own Met team. So I'll get back to you on that.
You know, which is great, and I do remember that. Do we have any metrics?
5 years, according
5
to
years,
Director
okay.
Rivas.
Thank you, Director
Thank you.
Rivas. Do we have any metrics that would give us an idea of how the program is working, possibly expanding it? Like, is there anything that can be added to our monthly sheriff's reports on activity from our Met team?
I know that we do during the 6-month report that the captain just provided. There is data there for the 6-month report, and we're going to work with them to try and provide the monthly calls of service that they respond to.
Great, thank you. I know you do an amazing job. And where are we? I know there have been talks about trying to expand the team hours. Is there any movement on that? Because it seems to be a very successful program for the city.
I mean, the hope is always the more Met team we have, the more resources we have. But as you know, we have a moratorium now that because of staffing shortages, I think it's something that we've talked about. I mean, in several meetings of trying to expand, but I don't know where the possibility of doing that, even if the city would have a blank check to say, hey, we can provide as many, but we do have, unfortunately, a moratorium, and hopefully we'll be out of that sooner than later.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for the work that you do in the city. Commission Secretary, do we have any public comments?
We don't have any public comments at this time.
Okay, great. Thank you for coming in. We really appreciate it. The surprise presentation, Director Rivas. Moving on to item 8E, the block-by-block security ambassadors will provide their monthly report for the month of June.
Good evening, commissioners. First of all, I'd like to thank Todd for his service. When I first started my role here in West Hollywood, he was one of the first city representatives that I met and welcomed me with open arms and a ton of support. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Todd, for all of your support for our program and my transition here. Thank you. And congratulations to Commissioner Aramian and Commissioner Harrison. I hope to continue to support your work and your roles. I'd like to talk about our numbers for June, which encompassed Pride Month and Pride Weekend, where we saw an influx of activity and visitors within the city. So business contacts, we performed 2,965 business contacts, which amounted to about 98 contacts per day out at businesses. Unhoused contacts, we performed 1,116 contacts, which were about 37 contacts per day. And calls for service, we saw 631 calls for service, which amounted to 21 per day. In response to some special needs at Veterans Park and as well as the Fairfax and Fountain property, we have also deployed special support there to support observe and report activity at those two areas, which are 24/7 currently. Also in support of the incident that happened on June 10th with the individuals that were unfortunately attacked, we did deploy some additional deployments to Larrabee, Hilldale, Palm, and some of those streets that encompass a lot more traffic, especially in the overnight hours, to provide more visibility. The alleyway behind the post office as well. We've also had our ambassadors pass out some flyers over a couple of weekends to bring more awareness to safety escorts. Last year for June, we saw about 32 safety escort requests come through. This for June, we saw 53. We hope to increase that as we get the word out. We'll be building some more flyers for our teams this weekend so that they can continue to visit businesses along Santa Monica and the Rainbow District, making sure that they get the word out about safety escorts and any other services that we can provide visitors to the community and residents as well when it comes to their safety and extra visibility. I do want to say thank you to Healthcare in Action and WeHo Cares. They've been great partners to us as we encourage our ambassadors to reach out to them for support during their hours. We're going to partner with WeHo Cares to do a refresher, not course, but just information session for a lot of our ambassadors. We have a lot of new faces on our team. They do as well, and so we'll be partnering with them to make sure that we've got all the updated information. I do want to also commend our teams over the weekend for reacting quickly to information as they received about the situation that occurred on Gardner. They were able to help lock down Plummer Park and also distribute information out to the public in the east area to make sure that everybody was safe, got everybody to safety. Our teams were safe, and so our teams were able to respond without incident to that pretty quickly. We are getting ready for Neighborhood Watch on August 6th. I've already received one flyer from a Neighborhood Watch captain, so we will be working on some special deployments to provide extra support to those Neighborhood Watch parties. So if anybody has any special requests, any extra help that they might need, we'll be able to support as much as we can. And I think that's all the information I have. So I'd like to answer questions if anybody has any.
Commissioners, questions?
I have a
Commissioner
question.
Blau.
Thank you. Thank you for your report this evening. I had a question on call 1 in the response times. In the report, I guess it's page 9 of 10. It is a proactive patrol hot dog vendor, which required a police response. That sounds a little funky to me. Can you help me understand what was going on?
So this happened over the weekend of Pride, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
It says the 10th of June. So I think that was
So it's a couple
the
of
weekend
weeks.
thereafter.
So what we saw was an influx of hot dog vendors following the weekend of Pride. That was the majority of our contacts for Pride weekend. But we did have a vendor who was refusing to comply with leaving the boulevard and became very aggravated and aggressive. And at that point, we needed to escalate to the sheriffs to support, dealing with that vendor.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. That helps me understand.
Yeah.
And then just a general question. In terms of, block by blocks charge and role within the city, what would you say is one of the chief challenges that comes to mind for block by block to execute its job effectively? Broad question, I know. You can come back to it if you want to think about it for a little bit.
That's a good question. So right off the back, I mean, a lot of the interactions that we have are with the unhoused, and so I think for us, it's always challenging in, making contact, one, in a safe manner, right, for our ambassadors and for the individuals that we're making contact with, and the unpredictability, I think, that sometimes we encounter with the unhoused.
Okay.
There was an assault on one of our ambassadors last month. They're fine. That ambassador was fine. He chose not to press charges on this individual. But it's unpredictable sometimes. And so we always lean on our training, and coaching our ambassadors on how to properly deal with encounters like that. Whether it's remaining with a safe distance, and then using, proper decision making, when to call Healthcare in Action, or WeHo Cares if somebody is requesting services,
right,
or doing wellness checks, or if they see someone that is a danger to themselves or the public, immediately calling the sheriffs, at that point and escalating to them and using their support to engage at that situation. So yeah, I would say it's the unpredictability, I think, of dealing with the unhoused and some of the mental health issues that we encounter. Not every encounter is dangerous. A lot of the times we're just checking on people, just making sure that they're okay, that they're breathing, that they're, are they looking for services? So it's not just always compliance, it's checking on people too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Commissioner Nickel.
Thank you, Chair Hallman. Hi, Erica. Good to see you.
Hi.
And actually, my question was about the security ambassador who was assaulted. What happened?
Yeah, so they were on a patrol of Plummer Park, and they encountered an individual in the community garden area that was in an area that was blocking public traffic. They were laying there, and so our ambassador approached and tried to make contact. The individual was unresponsive, not responding to verbal commands, and so at that point, you know, we always encourage our ambassadors to make contact within 10 feet of an individual, but sometimes we have to get a little closer. If someone looks unresponsive, you know, tap them gently, maybe on the foot, you know, or, you know, somewhere where, you know, they're not gonna, you know, throw an item or, you know, do something along those lines. And so that's kind of what happened. This person was not responding. And so in effort to do a wellness check, our ambassador got a little closer. And in doing so, this individual, you know, struck him in the face, was erratic. He was angry, very aggressive. We escalated to the sheriffs, and thankfully, anytime we have any ambassador assaults, the sheriff's partners respond really quickly. And so our ambassadors at that point have an option to press charges. We always encourage our ambassadors to press charges whenever they are physically assaulted. In this case, our ambassador chose not to, and so there was not much more that, you know, the sheriffs could do, but just to you know, allow the individual to relocate.
I'm sorry that happened at all, especially since they were just trying to make certain that the person was alive if they needed help.
Yeah.
The ambassador is okay?
Oh, yeah,
yes?
he's fine.
Is this a big problem for our security ambassadors, assault?
It's not a big problem, but it's certainly, you know, an occupational hazard, if you will. And I think when we first hire ambassadors, we always let them know, like, hey, you know, this is 90% of our job sometimes, you know, making contact with individuals that are unhoused. So a lot of them are experiencing mental health issues, you know, substance abuse issues, and so behavior can be erratic. And so we always reinforce safety first. I don't want to use an expletive, but I always tell our ambassadors, if somebody tells you to, you know, do that, come back and check on them again. And, you know, if we aren't able to gain compliance for whatever reason, we escalate to the sheriffs. But safety is always the #1 priority in keeping our teams safe, making sure that they are following those guidelines and those trainings to make sure that they're safe and individuals are safe as well.
And on-house contacts are up all over the city, your report this month. One last question. It came up in our last meeting, this idea of doing better to alert the public about escorts. There was talk, some community member had suggested something about maybe having in bars and restaurants a QR code where people could, you know, if you need help, if you need help walking home or to your car, we can help you scan this code. Has that been considered anymore or implemented or?
So we haven't talked about QR codes. I think for us, we just, you know, started passing out some small flyers with our information and kind of verbally, you know, informing the public, word of mouth, like safety escorts. But I'll definitely meet with Danny and Anita and see if QR codes, you know, is something that the businesses would like to do, because obviously they would be posted within their, I'm sure within their footprints. But we're definitely open to any way that we can get the word out.
Yeah, I mean, especially if we show it as it's something to help the people who come to West Hollywood to have a good time.
Sure.
Not something scary, but
Yeah.
we're being proactive. And I still think that that could be a good idea, just like we were talking about cell phone thefts earlier.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they didn't get the cards because they're coming here to have a good time and they don't live here. Residents, we got the cards, we know the number, we know the detail.
Yeah.
So it might be something to look into. Thank
Definitely.
you.
Commissioner Freiberg.
Hello, Erica.
Hi.
Thank you for your presentation. There's been a lot of mail-run thefts late at night, and I know the sheriffs have talked about how if it's the United States Post Office, they're the ones who handle the investigation, all of that. So let's say someone just comes in and steals some packages, and then our video cameras, which they have, caught their face. Like this is a different incident that I'm talking about. This is another recent incident in our building where, I mean, their face is right there. You can see everything. So do the sheriffs give you the headshots or anything like that? Do you receive that right away, or does that come up in your monthly meeting with them? How does that work?
Well, when in regards to criminal investigations, that I believe is confidential information, so all that information is private. So we don't get that information. But if we encounter residents that, see somebody that's suspicious at any time and they want to share that with us, they can do that directly, but directly from the sheriffs because of the confidentiality of investigations. I don't believe that that's a possibility.
Okay. Yeah. Because I think it would be so useful since, feet on the ground, they're around.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew exactly what they were wearing. They told everybody in our building.
Yeah.
And showed the picture.
Yeah.
So how helpful would it have been for Block by Block to have this? I think it's crazy that you don't, but.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, anyone else? Commissioner Ramian.
Thank you. Excuse me. Erica, good evening. Good to see you.
Hi.
I just have one quick question. How does Block by Block track the number of bike miles driven? Because I guess for the month of June, you have 474 miles. How do you guys come up with that number? Because I've never seen an odometer on the bicycle. So how do you guys come up with the number of miles driven for the month?
In our bike racks, ambassadors carry odometers in those bike racks. So whenever they're on patrol in certain areas, they're using those odometers. So they're not on the bicycles, but in their bike bags.
So that's a lot of miles. That's good.
I think it could be better, but yeah, we're getting there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question, and it may cross over into sheriffs as well, so thank you for still being here. Is there an uptick in overnight unregistered vehicles parked in Plummer Park? Because I know you do park our ambassador vehicles there, your offices are across the street. Are you noticing anything?
No, and our ambassadors park on the north lot during the day, and overnight we do park on the south lot. But generally speaking, we're not looking for that type of information on vehicles. But if we do see, an encampment or someone that is actively living in their car, that is when we're going to make contact and escalate if needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Commission Secretary, do we have any comments in chambers?
We don't have any comments in chambers.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's great to see you. Oh, and as I did send you a text, I witnessed an ambassador moving a scooter from the middle of the sidewalk. I know residents have asked if they do this, so yes.
Yes, we do that.
I am a witness.
All the time. Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Commissioner.
Oh, go ahead.
Since you brought it up and it's on my list.
Yeah.
Moving the scooters.
Moving the scooters.
I hate that that's a primary function and something that I feel like scooter companies should pay for. Are you considering that in any way? We know who the individuals dropping them off are. Technology is that advanced. You see whose credit card paid for the last trips. Is there any conversation taking place? Maybe this is a question for the city, but this to me is about funds and resources being used for something that I think is a burden to the public and that we should think about. Again, similar to what you're doing on the housing and the properties that are dangerous, potentially for fires and other things. I don't know if that's just a question. Is there anything being considered?
So that is kind of built into the contract that our long-range planning division executed with the vendors under the program. But for block by block, they're not. They're just concentrating on relocating the scooters to a safe place, so they're not laying over and obstructing the pedestrian way. But that is something that's built into the contract and is going to be managed by them to facilitate that.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Sure.
Since we're talking about scooters, I just wanted to ask you a quick question, because I remember during one of our Human Services Commission, the scooter company talked about software that can actually maybe stop the bike as soon as it goes onto it. I don't know how it would know it's going onto a sidewalk, or tell the driver, you can't be up here right now. Is that something that's still happening, or is that just gone?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the outcome was. I know that that was discussed. And my understanding is there was some difficulty with GPS coordinates and there being like anywhere between like a 4 to 12 foot kind of gap. And so, we typically have sidewalks that are, anywhere from 6 to, and in some instances 12 feet. Depending on where it is in the community. So that made it a little difficult to kind of establish, well, is it on the street? Is it on the sidewalk? But I don't know what the outcome was, to be honest with you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 9 on our agenda, items from staff. Staff, do we have any updates for this evening?
Yes, thank you, Chair and members of the Commission. We'd like to invite you and all members of the community to join us for National Night Out on August 6th. This nationwide event promotes public safety and neighborhood partnerships. Throughout the city, there will be 9 events hosted that evening. It's a great opportunity to meet your neighbors and public safety partners. For more details about the events happening near you, please visit www.weho.org/NNO. The city's community safety update was presented at the City Council meeting on July 15th. The presentation included public safety activities from the Community Safety Department, including data from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, Los Angeles County Fire Department, Block by Block Security Ambassador Program, and the city's Neighborhood and Business Safety Division. At this meeting, the City Council also reviewed and approved an item with proposed policies for the use of public safety equipment and technology to support community safety efforts in West Hollywood. Additional public outreach will be forthcoming about these initiatives. At the last Public Safety Commission meeting on June 17th, 2 motions were brought forward. We have shared relevant updates and information with the Commission regarding the motions after working with the City Clerk's and City Attorney's Office. Our City Clerk, Melissa Crowder, is in attendance if there are any questions pertaining to the motions or the Commission. This concludes the updates from the Public Safety Division. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions for our City Clerk? No questions?
I have a quick question.
I knew you
Do not
would have one.
What? Good.
Go ahead.
Good.
No,
Yeah, it's
no,
good.
it's great.
So, thank you for joining, Melissa. My question is with respect to one of the 2 motions that we were just talking about. So I know that the Public Safety Commission, and I just pulled up the municipal code to double check this, has limitations that it's not the Commission's role to conduct investigations into individual complaints related to the services being provided to the city or any of its contractors, nor the role to direct the process or procedure by which the service level recommendations are carried out. I'm a little bit, it's a little bit of a gray area to me when I analyze that phrase as compared to the Public Safety Commission shall have the power and be required to analyze the law enforcement needs and make policy recommendations to the city, which include that whole portion in there. I definitely understand that we can't, even though sometimes it seems like we kind of go through some individual complaints in here in certain contexts. I definitely understand when it comes to the public safety equipment, the drones and the cameras, that we can't be expected to receive and understand each individual complaint. But I'm a little bit confused where we are unable to be kind of guaranteed updates and regular feedback in this pilot program, right? Pilot program is, we're workshopping this new technology that we've never used before, which has a lot of implications. And this should be a really good platform to us for the community and the city to get feedback live. and adjust these kind of recommendations on the fly. So I'm a little bit honestly frustrated about where those kind of like limits land and what the determination has been based on our motion, and as well based on City Council's deliberations with respect to that portion as well.
So your question is specific to the technology enhancements that the city is moving forward with, correct?
Correct.
So this was discussed quite extensively at the city council meeting. There was some direction given about doing outreach to the community so that they were aware, even though it's come before the Public Safety Commission several times, it's gone to the city council several times, they did agree to do additional outreach. As you said, it's a pilot program. My understanding is that public safety, in partnership with the Sheriff's Department, will provide updates to the commission. However, there may be times when there is no update because there isn't a complaint. And so once an item goes to the city council, it is kind of under the city council's purview until the council says, we want the Public Safety Commission to hear this information. So that's where we are right now. And as you said, it's a pilot program. So I think staff will work with the Sheriff's Department and us to determine as we move along, what does that look like? Because Danny, how long is the pilot program currently scheduled to go?
It's for 1 year.
So it's 1 year. So if quarterly updates were provided to the commission, that's 4 opportunities for the commission to discuss it and receive feedback. If staff determines that they need to discuss it with you more often, we always have items from staff. So I think those are the appropriate things, and I think we're flexible in that. But we also want to recognize that it's the Sheriff's Department that is implementing this, and drones are used for a lot of things. All of our special events, Halloween, Pride, have drones that are part of that, and it's just, and our neighbors to the west of us, City of Beverly Hills, actively uses drones, as do other agencies, and it's just one more tool in public safety's arsenal to help them keep this community safe. And so that's why we're doing a pilot program and not just simply moving forward with implementing it from the beginning.
Okay, and then as well, because it's implemented via the sheriff, in terms of the details there, and because we contract with the sheriff as well, right, in terms of detailed oversight and any kind of an ability for an individual citizen to request public information, that becomes a little bit grayer because it's law enforcement. There's like challenges with Freedom of Information Act kind of requests regarding public safety pieces, and so then we're kind of limited to whatever the Civilian Oversight Commission for the entire Sheriff's Department looks at, like this one department or this one station's particular process out of how many other stations?
So I think 2 things are being a little convoluted.
Yeah.
So because the Sheriff's Department is going to work with a vendor who will maintain the data that comes through this, and it's not a FOIA request, it's a public records request in California. You would do the public records request through the Sheriff's Department, not through the city. The city is not going to maintain or have access to any of those records.
Right.
Similarly, if a traffic collision occurs, that's a sheriff's report, and we refer them to the Sheriff's Department. When you get into the Oversight Commission, that is more, I think, to the other motion that the commission made, and that body is responsible for overseeing personnel-related things. That is not the duty of the City of West Hollywood Public Safety Commission.
Okay. So maybe if you can help me just this last question, I promise, understand where this kind of fits as well. So, one of the chief things that I'm personally concerned about with this particular technology isn't the 95% use case, right? It's the 3% off nominal bad usage of this technology that goes against what the city and the city council intended, and staff intended as well when any of these technologies were put in place. And I raised this previously where I believe it was Pasadena Police Department, definitely Long Beach Police Department was sharing the ALPR, automated license plate reading camera data, with some other federal law enforcement agencies, ICE. My concern is there's updates, maybe this is a question better to Director Rivas, but there's going to be updates provided with respect to these programs provided by the sheriff to the city. So then is it kind of the city that's going to be reviewing where this data is shared with what other agencies it might be shared with, that's being collected basically on behalf of the city? Like who on the city side would see that kind of information? Like name them, but like who sees that on the city side, or does nobody, right? Does that all fully fall behind the iron curtain of the sheriff's department?
Yeah, so the city does not and will not have access to that information. So there's not a city staff member that's accessing the system and doing an audit trail or assessing or reviewing that. That would be something that's maintained as reflected in the station order that they would need to follow and abide by. That was the commitment in terms of them creating and developing the station order, which really is going to serve as the policy for the West Hollywood Sheriff Station. We, of course, are going to be provided with information as it relates to findings. If there are hiccups or issues associated with that, then that is something that we would be discussing on the city management side with sheriff management as well, right, in terms of where the breakdown was, what actually occurred, et cetera. Just to be clear, though, the ALPR camera system and program that's been in place since September, October of last year, that's not something that's going to be provided or included as a part of this. What the pilot program is intended for is just for the use of drones, the use of fixed cameras, stationary cameras, and the real-time watch center, which really just serves as the hub. So the ALPR camera system and program is permanent, and that's in place. So that's not something that would be incorporated into these updates. But I understand kind of the nexus and the question. And I can let the commission know and members of the community that since the implementation of our ALPR camera, as of to date, we have not received any sort of complaints or reports or anything of that sort thus far.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean the commentary into that nexus is that the staff recommended provider for the fixed cameras is Flock, which is the same as the ALPR camera provider, right? So if you want to talk about collection of data and however that third party is handling it, and or our second party, the sheriff, is handling that information and where that goes, I'm just seeing a lot of things kind of connect together, and I'm curious who's watching that, basically, in terms of like who's making sure that it's not being used incorrectly, right? That's where my concern is really coming from, but that is the end of my questioning. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Commissioners, any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Post.
Yeah, so I know as part of that motion with City Council, it was kind of something that was said to make the public known that they were taking this action about the program going into effect and to run a public awareness campaign. And so I just wanted to get a sense if the city had any idea or plans of how they are going to make the public aware of this action, hopefully ahead of the drone being put into use, but just wanted to see what the plans there were for that.
Absolutely, and thank you for that question, because it gives us an opportunity to kind of just highlight that what the plan is that we will be returning to the City Council probably within the next month or so, very quickly with an item. It'll be placed on the consent calendar, but there'll be a staff report that's going to be outlining all the different steps and things that we're going to be looking at. We are going to be meeting internally with our communications team, also working with our West Hollywood Sheriff Station as well, and then trying to figure out, what's the best plan to get the word out. But some of the things that we're kicking around right now, and again, nothing solidified, is maybe doing something similar to what the commission did recently with the Public Safety Commission open house that we had at Plummer Park. So, maybe looking at doing a session or two with the community to inform them about the initiative and the different elements and the station orders, et cetera. And then also, working with our communications team to do a press release, potentially looking at our social media. So kind of looking at different elements like that. We don't want to commit ourselves yet because we haven't had that full interdepartmental discussion yet, but that's the plan. But whatever is going to be put in place and how we're going to approach it is going to be presented to the City Council, and we'll be sure to let the Public Safety Commission know as well when that item goes and sharing that information with everyone.
Commissioner Freiberg, did you have a question? Okay. Any other commissioner?
I do have just a quick question.
Okay, but we got to wrap
I
this
promise. It's regarding how we would manage how would we go about doing joint commission meetings where scopes between different commissions intersect. Steve Martin had talked about public safety and planning, for instance. There's public safety and transportation and mobility. There's a lot of intersections here. How does that mechanically work?
So
Could it?
That's a good question and something I'm looking into right now, because I know that subcommittees from different commissions can't meet, but Danny and I briefly discussed, because as part of a different motion that you guys had, which really affected more of the Transportation and Mobility Commission, but could see the nexus with the Public Safety Commission, should those two bodies meet and have a study session to talk about that topic, which was mainly one intersection, but it could be a larger discussion about pedestrian safety and other topics at intersections in West Hollywood. So I'm looking into that right now with the city attorney, and we'll either have Danny or Anita reach out with an email to let you know if we'll be moving forward with that and dates that would work for everyone, or trying to find some other avenues so that we can respond to the commission's request about that intersection. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. And since I've been on the commission, this has been one item that I feel we have really been well read in on. We haven't always had these opportunities to work with City Council. I think we've had lengthy discussions, times to answer questions. We tend to run to our neighbors to the west whenever there's an issue. Beverly Hills, this program has been tried and tested in another city, and we are living in different times. And we, I think, need to just be open to different forms of protecting the community and being vigilant. So thank you for being here this evening and answering our questions.
And Chair, just before you move on, just on behalf of staff as well, we want to thank you for your service as chair, and then we also obviously want to congratulate Commissioner Ramian and Commissioner Harrison on their chair and vice chair appointments, and we look forward to continuing to support everybody. So,
Commission Secretary, do we have any public comments?
We have no public comments.
No public comments on commissioners. Commissioner comments.
Sure.
Commissioner Ramian or newly elected Chair Ramian.
Thank you, Chair. First, I want to take this opportunity to thank Chair Hallman for your time as being chair for the Public Safety Commission. You're an amazing leader, and I look forward to continue working with you on this commission. I've learned a lot from you this past year, and I'm sure I will continue learning more from you as the days and months go on. Excuse me. I'd like to congratulate Co-Chair Harrison on becoming my co-chair, vice chair. And it's going to be a privilege and an honor working with you as well. And I would like to thank my fellow commissioners for and trusting me in being your next chair. I look forward to working with every single one of you. You know, public safety has a big space in my heart. I am very passionate about it. I am not only a co-captain of the East Side Neighborhood Watch, but I always have my eyes and ears open in the East Side, the West Side, and I believe safety is everyone's job. If you see something, say something. And I look forward to being your servant as chair of the Public Safety Commission for the upcoming year. And lastly, just want to invite all of you to National Night Out on August 6th. I will be on the East Side Neighborhood Watch with Commissioner Nickel. It'll be on Gardner between Santa Monica and Lexington? Lexington and Fountain. It's going to be a fun time. There's going to be a roller skating rink. There's going to be DJs, dancing. It'll be a lot of fun, so please, there's many, many National Night Out activities that night. Make sure you stop by the East Side Neighborhood Watch as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Freiberg.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you, Chair Holman, for what was it, 4 years?
2 years.
2 years.
Yes,
Why am I
yes.
thinking it's 4? Thank you for the last 2 years, and I wanted to congratulate Chair Ramian and Vice Chair Harrison. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Harrison.
I also just want to thank you, Todd. I think that coming into this, I think there was a lot of heat on this commission from the public, and I just really enjoyed, one, the unity of this commission and respect that we have for each other, and I think largely that's due to you and your chairmanship of it. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Commissioner Post.
So I think we had a lot of great conversations tonight, especially appreciated the Met team and kind of trying to understand what our alternative community response is for public safety. And I think one of the things I passed along to Danny was a recent report by the Council of State Governments on emergent practices and how to elevate and replicate community responder programs nationwide. And I think it was great to see some of the things that WeHo is already doing were included in that recommendation or in that report. And I think it's just a good opportunity to flag that we should continue to be thinking about best practices for these types of response programs. And I would love to possibly see an agendized item around this fuller network of our community response programs and how they're interconnected and how they all communicate with each other, because I think that would give us a better understanding, as well as the public, of when folks are called to scene that might have mental health training and things like that. And so I think just a larger conversation about how all those pieces are kind of interconnected, I think would be good.
So if that's something you'd like to see, you need to make a motion.
Okay, gotcha. I would motion to have an agendized item about the alternative community response that WeHo provides to support its public safety.
And do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
Director Rivas.
Aren't we doing that later this year?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat? I was discussing something.
No, that's all right.
separately.
Commissioner Post, can you just repeat that?
Yeah, I would love the motion to have an agendized item on the city just having a fuller presentation around the different alternative community response groups and models that provide assistance with public safety in the city.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely something that we could do. It sounds. Is there consensus with the commission?
Well, we got a second, so I think.
Yeah. Am I seeing heads not? Yeah, heads nod, thumbs up. Yeah, we don't have to do a roll call regarding that if that's fine.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And then the last thing that I had, I did just want to make sure that, again, we are getting the word out about the public, about the drone program that we're implementing. And so just encouraging you all to use all those different resources that I know you have available to you, including Engage WeHo, social media, the city website. I know you'll have that meeting and lots of things to share with us, but any tool that you have at your disposal to engage the public, I think should be used to inform them of this program. So. And besides that, I recently had COVID in between the last meetings, so just want to inform the public. COVID is still a thing. I know it's up in sewage wastewater, so please take care of yourself. Test if you're sick. Stay home if you are. And yeah, that was the last thing I had. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Nickel.
And thank you for your leadership these last 2 years. When I was appointed to public safety, I knew that it would be an easier transition because you were here, so thank you. And I also want to congratulate our, I guess, chair-elect is the proper term, I don't know, Aramean, and Vice Chair-elect Harrison, thank you. I look forward to working with you both. And it's been said, National Night Out on the 6th. I hope everyone comes. I believe that there is a list with the addresses and the time on the city website. So if you just Google National Night Out West Hollywood, I think it'll take you to the website because they're all across the city. They're all going to be great, but the east side is going to be really great. So please do come. Following up on what Commissioner Post said, I was going to ask you, Danny, the care team. I've been asking about this for a long time. We really do need to understand because it was one of the things that was put forward when sheriff's deputies were initially cut as a replacement. I really want to understand how many we have, what they're doing, how many calls they have. I understand that since they're dealing with mental health issues, that there are certainly things that we shouldn't know and that we can't know when it comes to medical records. But I would just really like to know what kind of calls they're going on and what the results are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Anita has reached out to the Human Services Division that manages that contract. And I know there's been some difficulty in terms of trying to get staff that is working in the later evening hours to come and attend. And so that's really been the obstacle. But we'll certainly follow up, and I will follow up with my colleague, the Director of Human Services as well, to try to see if we can land on something in the next maybe 2 months to have agendized. And we will certainly bring that forth.
Or even, I mean, it was mentioned in the semi-annual community safety update. There was one little line in there, but it wasn't that was just the interaction with the police. And it does not have to be a presentation. I really appreciated the fact that we did have the Met team here tonight. It's absolutely a vital part of what we do in the city to keep people safe. But even if we just had it in the reporting, if we just had reporting, how many incidents there are, how many calls, east side, west side, city center.
And thank you for that, Commissioner, because that just reminded me I wasn't at the meeting on July 15th. I was actually taking a vacation for once. But when I watched the meeting, that did get brought up by the city council. And so I do know that our city manager responded that there was going to be a staff item report coming forth to the commission, to the city council that would provide an update regarding all of the activities that you just mentioned. They don't go into detail for HIPAA reasons, you know, in terms of that, but it gives you an overview in terms of calls, right, the hours of operation, et cetera. And so when we get a hold of that report, if that satisfies that request, we will most certainly forward that on over as well to the full commission to have you all discuss it and have access to that information.
Great, thank you so much.
You got it.
Commissioner Blau.
Thank you. I do as well just want to thank you, Chair Hallman, as you go out for your service and your guidance over the last year while I've joined the commission. And my congratulations as well to Vice Chair-elect Harrison and Chair-elect Aramian. Can you make sure I'm pronouncing that correct? I've heard 2 different pronunciations tonight, so I want to make sure. Aramian? Which one is it? Which one? Aramian. Perfect. Nailed it. Thank you. Congrats. A question to staff. With what Commissioner Post had just mentioned about all the different supportive services that we had, it reminded me of a conversation that Lieutenant Lapkin and myself had at the Public Safety Open House. Does the city of West Hollywood have anything or tried anything related to a victim advocate program, something to help victims of crime within the city navigate through all these different processes and supportive services, whether it be, filing a police report, you have to go to a court case and oh, but the city also has this. Do we have anything like that?
So I know that there was something that was in motion pre-COVID, so prior to March of 2020, and then things just kind of fizzled out. And then, coming back online post-COVID, just with the difficulties of trying to figure out, even from a non-sworn perspective on the sheriff's side, because my understanding from the different programs is you certainly want somebody to kind of be familiar with the processes. It doesn't necessarily need to be a sworn person. In most cases, it's not, right? But at least they're familiar with kind of the policies and the procedures and the process. And so that's certainly something that we can explore, and I can discuss with Lieutenant Lapkin to see if there's any sort of feasibility. But again, because there's a limitation on what we can do right now, but I definitely think that that's something we can look at. But I also know that that was being also coordinated, and there was a joint effort internally with our Human Services Department as well. And so we'll also reach out to them as well and see if they remember or kind of recall kind of where they left off at.
Sure, I can make a motion as well if it makes it easier as well. I'd like to make a motion then that we receive an update on possibilities in the future of a potential victim advocate program, either sworn or unsworn, for the city of West Hollywood.
Seconded.
Seem I see heads nodding.
I guess we're in agreement, Director Rivas.
Thank you very much.
Finally, I would like to thank the commission for allowing me to be their chair for 2 years. I want to thank city staff, especially Director Rivas. I know I drive him nuts. He has been a great leader. I started with Kristen Cook, and when she left the city, I was terrified. But Director Rivas, you do an amazing job, and we should be proud, the city should be proud of your leadership, as well as our commission secretary. You hold this all together for us. You hold my script together. So thank you to our commission secretary, to our new liaison. You do an amazing job. We could not do this without you. I am happy to hand the gavel over to Commissioner Aramian and Vice Chair Harrison. I will still be here. I hope I will not be the last Black commissioner to sit on this dais. I was amazed when I found out that I'm the first Black chair. As a city, we have a long way to go, not only on this commission, but other commissions, as well as our city council. So with that, thank you, everyone. We are adjourned until August 19th. Have a wonderful evening.